you agreeing or for agreeing to meet with me today. And when I came across your website, I saw a lot of admirable work that's being done here for cultural preservation in Rajasthan and Jodhpur. And I was just wondering if you could kind of tell me about the history of this organization and its purpose. For me.
This was founded by my father, Kothari. He was a folklorist, ethnomusicologist, and later in his life, he thought of a museum, which is an ethnographic museum. So their journey starts from 1960, when his friend Vijayan Deta is again a vernacular language writer. So both of them have decided to shift to one place in village where they wanted to collect oral tradition. So that was language was their main motto, to study through oral tradition. So with oral tradition, they have started collecting folk tales initially. So they thought that what kind of village they can select, so that there they will find the entire Rajasthan. So how can you conceive this way, that how entire Rajasthan can be at one place? So they believe that Vijayanji's place, which is Borunda, 100 kilometers from here, has almost 36 communities, which is very important for agrarian society. So that you get all kinds of services like barber, carpenter, and these are known as occupational communities. So their wives comes from different parts of Rajasthan. So they bring the culture from different parts of Rajasthan.
Yeah.
So that was their idea to, because going for research and takes a lot of time and a lot of money is required. So they thought, let's sit down at one place and where you can interact with the older ladies who can start telling the stories. So with that they started. So it was first they thought that they started writing and documenting audiovisually. See, visual was very difficult in those times, and they were recording on spools. That was very beginning. There was no cassettes, so they started from there. They have collected almost 10,000 photographs, stories from different communities. And those stories they have just, they visualize and they write, because oral and written has two different angles. For writing you need to be very different. Where like I'm speaking in a different way, but if I'll write, it is a different way. So that they have done very. In first time they started, they made a journal in which they started publishing. So that was in their vernacular languages, and so they have collected almost 10,000 folk tales, and not all of them they have just published, but as their subject they think that this subject is good, so they take accordingly. So that was their beginning. So soon their journal needs a lot of other issues in their journal. So they started collecting folk musical instruments story, so they just approached to the performing communities of Rajasthan nearby, and then they collected some ideas and they started publishing. So my father got interested much into music domain, so that is folk music or folk performing arts, you can say. So with that he was just collecting, and just he went to them and find out that some instruments are coming from kitchen, not only from the performing community, but like chipia or thali or such instruments that evoke them to go to their kitchen also. That how these instruments have been coming from kitchen. So he took those ideas from there, and then slowly it is expanding, and since research was involved, so then slowly he was growing into that way of life. And in similar way, Vijayanji was writing, and he was also like editing, and both were doing work together. So this went up to, for 30 years they've been publishing these journals, in local languages. But then they found that Rajasthan has a very less literacy in those days. So they thought that let's translate whatever they published in vernacular languages need to be translated into Hindi.
Yeah.
So Hindi is little bit, only at that time they were saying it was not more than 20-25% in 60s, 70s, 80s. So that was like work which was going in a one way, and music has taken over a big leap because a lot of scholars started coming in those days, and it was very difficult for any institutions to fund themselves very in a huge way. So and traveling, and then you need a lot of money. So he was very smart in just helping the foreign scholars, especially. Initially, people came from France. France scholars were interested in folk music and instruments from this part of Rajasthan, especially Western Rajasthan. So then this journey started from there actually, where a lot of scholars came, and they have done excellent research on instrument repertoire, especially because our performing art way of life is very different. Because here the performer has a patronage. Patronage means like it's like employer-employee relationship.
Yeah.
So same was going even in the past. Otherwise, how would you survive? Somebody has to give you sustainability through their working.
Yeah.
So in Rajasthan, especially in many other parts of India also, they have a patronage system where a musician will go to patron house and perform for entire life kind of aspects, like majorly birth, wedding and death. Then annual cycle, there are a lot of issues comes, and in between those they were singing, and they have a huge repertoire. And with that definitely some main kind of instruments. And so he started working with Manganias first in 72, and then later on he is catching up with the other performing community who has a patronage. So he also decided to work on music in a very different way of life. I mean, there are two types of musical performances were happening. One who perform for themselves, where that the guy is not being paid. But there are musicians who go and serve. Those are like known as professional hereditary caste musicians. And these were the people who were like singing for generations. I mean, maybe like 400-500 years of their journey was there.
Yeah.
And so they have huge repertoire. So that he was started collecting. He was not interested in one or two songs, but he wanted to know the entire repertoire of their. So it's not only these musician or performing community only sing music, but they tell stories. They have long lays. There are different variety of performing ideas were there, which was there. So he was just go on collecting all this. But definitely a lot of scholars coming from France, then UK, then US. US came later, but then it really grew up very fast. So until 2000, maybe 200 scholars have visited here and have worked with them for 5 to 10 years of. Earlier, the research was not like very little. It was like quite long.
Yeah.
5 years, 10 years, 15 years of that kind of research was happening. So in that case, you get to know everything rather than, just surface. It was like all primary data collections, not secondary. So they were very much on the primary data collections. And in this way, they have a huge collection was there. And then they were moving into university circuits. They were not just performing as an event, but through universities, because most of the scholars were coming from universities. So he went there and took these musicians over there, and they just performed. And the musical kind of technicality and the way they sing, their instruments, their, like they sing in a group of that nature. So those kind of work he was doing for almost like 40 years, 45 years. Then definitely, and after 2000, this museum which he has in his mind that, so this was like, we can just cut down here and then if you have some question you can raise.
Yeah.
Because
sure.
like it's a very 60
Yeah.
year story. I cannot
It's a
just
long
go on
history.
speaking, but
Yeah.
if anything
Thank you.
in between you
Yeah.
want to have some questions,
Yeah.
I can
Well,
just reply to those.
Definitely. I know that you mentioned that this institute, Rupayan Sansthan, has had scholars, professors, researchers from all over the world come here. I know Syracuse University, I think Cambridge
Yeah.
University. They've all of these
UCLA, Berkeley,
Berkeley,
Chicago.
yeah, University of Chicago, all of these places, and all of these people have come here for information and for the data and research that has been collected.
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering how you feel that there's like, what is the responsibility there that all of these people are coming to this institute for information about Rajasthan. How do you feel that you have been best able to accurately collect information that represents Rajasthani people, given how important this research is, and how many people are using this to form their data collection on Rajasthan as a whole? How do you feel that this institute has managed that kind of importance of this institute?
Well, definitely for that purpose, father was a scholar. One has to understand. I'm not a scholar, but
Yeah.
I'm just informing you. That's it. But like his way of study was because the method which was decided when the scholars came was by him only, because he knew the various aspects of these communities, whether it's part of earning, whether it's performance, or various dimensions of these performing communities.
Yeah.
So he was very good at doing all these things. So not like each scholar when they come, they will do the same work. They accept. They will decide some new dimension. Like there's a lady came from Norway. She was interested in understanding how the generational music passing on from one generation to the next. So this was a topic and a challenge also, like how to, because it's very, there's no school is there, it's in their homes they only learn music in a very simple way, like like mother tongue they learn. How do you learn mother tongue? They learn music like that.
Yeah.
So there was no classes or like first, second, third, fourth. It's just by the age you grow and you started learning those nuances right from beginning, like early age, what kind of songs you are singing, and who is teaching you, who is taking so mothers, like the children usually like with mother up until age of 10. So mother was the very first school for the children in this tradition, performing tradition.
Yeah.
Then the father takes over that situation, and then he goes with his father and to the patron houses and then learn all this. So this was like this scholar, Professor Viveke Huma, has decided, and she came for 10 years. For 3 months she used to come, and then 5 families were decided in Jaisalmer and Bardner. So she used to go there, and she reaches 5 in the morning and see before the child gets up and what happens to him, and then how does he react. And the child wasn't like aware of what going on him,
Yeah.
but she was just collecting data, how it's. So it was almost like for 10 years. So when you catch up a boy of a 2, get 12s, when his final research was done. So different age, 2, 5, 8, 10.
Yeah.
So you can see the different age and how this, how they grew with their singing traditions. So this was like very interesting project from Norway.
Yeah.
So this whole methodology, because when they come, they can come with some idea, but where to go, whom to approach, what people should be there, whether they accept your presence or not, all these issues were there. So father was very, very much instrumental in organizing, making methods for studies, So this study has a very, very interesting, outcomes when at the end they realize that child or children never taught, they learn.
Yeah.
And their learning is like a mother tongue. It's not like any exercise given to them.
Yeah.
So they just take it, and then definitely their DNA is also like for generation something happens in your family, you carry forward such kind of traditions.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. That makes sense. And I'm wondering, in today's world, obviously the world is globalizing, the world is industrializing, social media is a big thing, technology is spreading throughout Rajasthan and the rest of the world. How do you feel folklore has evolved through this increasingly changing world?
Well, definitely, for 1960 to 1990, it wasn't like the media wasn't that powerful. Only through academics, it's moving, and that was like a deep research was done during that period. But when the people get popularized, the people love their singing, and so that's so it was going very well until 1990. Then suddenly, there is a change in our way of life and all the how the world become closer, and people have more exposures. So then definitely, there is apart from academics, which is much more purer in its sense, but the people who do events or programs, they wanted some different kind of because music has a language, one thing. So then this kind of collaboration in music started happening, and then so they don't see the values of culture or the tradition, because somehow when you make some fusion music, so you take some part of yours and some part of theirs, it's become a kind of a mixing kind of thing. So the purity where like slowly coming backseat, and the new things coming up. Of course, whatever they play has to be like coming from the folklore or whatever the culture is. And so that was actually has I don't say it's damaged, but it's the new potential viewers were started coming in. People started liking, some like the very pure music, somebody wants the fusion music. Because in traditional music the problem is the language. Language is the biggest big barrier in just communicating. But musical instruments have played a big role, because rhythm you understand. Whoever plays rhythms are very easy to understand. So in that way, rhythm started coming above the content. So in that way the music looks good, but the content, later on now we are again realizing the content is more important than rhythms. How long you can play a rhythm? You can play just for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, then it's over. But stories can go on for 51 hours, 100 hours. So how will you, so these traditions only remain in the patronage system, where the local. So in local still people, wanted to listen to those, and they understood. And that is part of their social life also. Music is not for us an entertainment or a commodity. It's part of our social value system, in which, like, suppose if some marriage is going on, when they come, they will sing something in relation to that marriage, rather than just giving you an entertainment kind of idea. So they will just, earlier days, these musicians and performing arts communities come to their patron houses for 10-15 days, sometimes 1 month. So how can you just remain with 1 or 2 songs? You have to have variety of songs, variety of movements, variety of events you have to address. So that way it's a big thing, but since it's changing, and even the patronage is shrinking, because patronage is also exposed to modern world. So they also started wanting them to sing ghazals or something like, so that as a musician they can sing anything, but that was not right, because they are losing their quality, and their own, this folk music has a different, way of learning, and the way there is a grammar also in it. So that grammar is very important, so especially my father and other scholars have worked especially on those grammars, and want to be remain intact in terms of their musicality
Yeah.
and kind of thing. So in that, during this course, even the musician started feeling elevated because they knew certain things, but when they introduced something new to them, the vocabulary remains the same, but they could even enhance their music. That is an individual quality of the artist in the performing group.
Yeah.
So this is how it was going, and definitely now social media is taking insight. So not the whole community is being exposed through all these medias.
Yeah.
What is happening? One or two people are getting exposure, like Mamne Khan or Swaroop Khan, and there are variety of people, like youngsters who reach to top. They become celebrities now, but they lost their roots actually, and now they sing. Of course, they are using those material, but in a different way, because there is a copyrighted with them also.
Yeah.
So these are certain problems which are facing.
Yeah.
That sometimes, like Nimbuda song, we knew who has created this song, and suddenly now the Dil De Chuke Sanam film has taken over this song.
Yeah.
Now they own the copyright and not these communities.
Yeah.
So it's other way around, like so they are losing their
Yeah.
their values and their music.
That makes sense, definitely. And I think you touched on it earlier, but could you speak on how central folklore is to Rajasthani culture, and maybe some unique challenges that you faced? You talked about social media, and maybe some unique challenges and methods that are special to Rajasthan. Regarding folklore and oral and musical
See,
tradition.
when we say folklore, and while studying, they started with the folk tales,
Yeah.
and that was not that was just a beginning.
Yeah.
And in oral tradition, when they started understanding, then they started saying that oral or the language is way of life.
Yeah.
So nothing left. So when you talk about language, it encompasses your entire life, your way of agriculturing, the way of your business. All these cultures remain intact in this folklore. So that's how, like, because as the time grows, they started interacting with other world. So definitely those methods have changed, because they started using hybrid seeds and in agriculture. In same way, other things also, people are adopting new ways of thing to grow bigger. But how important it was, because one thing I myself realized that see, their survival was within a vicinity, where they find everything. But now they find everything in the entire world.
Yeah.
So that's, in that case, what happens is that you are you are losing local and using global. So that was a bit difficult, because most of the people have better idea on their own region rather than anybody else. We don't talk much about music in Madhya Pradesh, or of course these boundaries are again quite a, we can't create a boundaries on such a thing. Culture has a different boundaries. That I'll talk in the museum, because museum there he broke all the boundaries which he knew while working, that how museum should look like. That I'll explain you in the museum section.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense. And it's interesting to see how universal culture and folklore and culture are intertwined in Rajasthan. When you walk in the streets, you hear people singing, people telling stories, and when you watch movies and television, you see these told through the screen, through music. So it's so central, and I think that points to the importance of the work being done here to preserve all of these, all this folklore.
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering how you think, what the most important lessons you would give to the younger generation of Rajasthan and the world are in preserving these traditions so they don't get lost to time.
Well, after 2000, we are working less on these work on the ethnomusicology. or the cultural side, because we have just entered into the museum idea. So this is very difficult, to see. It's very important also that you cannot live on what you have, so you have to depend on somebody else. So there you just going out and imbibe new things, and from the masses, because that influences anyway. Every culture has its own strength,
Yeah.
and those strengths they understood. And also, like, it's very fluid that some tunes you may pick up and you start using into your culture. So this is very, very free domain, like, where there's no restriction that you cannot use this, but your way could be different, that could be your own way. Then what is most important I found is that we don't argue that they should not grow, because we change, so they will also change. So this inevitability is there. So we feel that still you do whatever you want across the world, but you should know your own things first. If you are losing that, meaning you are losing your own tradition faster. So even like we started again with the younger generation of age 7 to 14.
Yeah.
We just created a school in my father's name, and then we said, okay, their teachers, their elderly senior musician should taught the best possible music, which they were rendering during in pre or post independence. So that really we ourselves feel very energized, because these children are very capable of singing the best songs which even a 50-year guy can sing, with such a powerful way. So then we feel that after 14 they could be free, and they go wherever they want. They want to play with music with any band or anything. We are that way. We want to be free, but our intent is that they should first they know their own culture. But where to get this culture is again an issue, because then when the whole environment has changed, it's very difficult. Even like the senior musicians started losing, because these are generational one. So in any art form, you'll see at least 3 generation has to be there: child, adult, and senior. If these 3 generation are not there, then this movement will not be there. So you have a learning passage. So that learning passage is very, very important for any art form, traditional art form. So that is very important. So we try to build this, passage again and revive. So one way is definitely there, but in last 6 years, what my father has collected as part of repertoire, which was lying in our archives, we just give them back to the society. That, well, you just listen all these things, and you have to learn all these things. Play whatever you want to play, but don't miss out this. If you miss this, then you are losing your own culture very fast. So this is very, very important. There's a big dialogue on all these issues, but I myself felt that we should do such work, which is very important. Otherwise, they'll be like, they'll go anywhere, wherever they want. There's nobody who can just, bring them at one place and tell them what is your own culture. So they feel very proud about it, and the children are doing excellent. And even like they thread the elders one also, because they sing better than them.
Very interesting. And I wonder, how far back do these traditions stretch? Like, what is the oldest kind of time period that you've extracted?
It's a challenging one, but I can just phrase it like this, that in 1960, there was not much, when even my father started moving into these places, there was not even roads. Going to Jaisalmer means like you have to go by bus to Pokhran, and then you have to go to Jaisalmer on the camel's back. So that was the time he went there, he just understood. So there wasn't like any exposure to those musicians. That they don't even, Jaisalmer guy didn't came to Jodhpur Badmer guy didn't came to Jodhpur because there was no transportation, only through camels or such time, only on when relations are taking place, marriages or something, then they only move. Otherwise, it was very, very difficult. So, even in 2000, my father started saying that he can just, define in this way. He says that whatever I have seen in my lifetime, which was like quite enough because he collected 20,000 hours of archives in our collection with the help of other scholars too. I mean, everybody has submitted their copies to us also. That was his prime intent also. So, so with that, actually, he says in 2000 that whatever I could see, maybe it cannot be 100%. It may be 80%, 70%, 40%. But what is remained in 2000 is just what he has seen is just 4 to 5%.
Yeah.
That was his statement. And that's why he said that now it's very difficult for even researcher to work on such a tradition.
Yeah.
That was the cutoff point. But 1990 was like a place where the media is getting momentum, and all these people like started exploring. And you cannot stop all these communities because each community has like even those period like 20,000 people in the community. So there are 40 such communities are there. So you can the number was very big, and you cannot guide them through one institution. So of course people are inspired by him. They used to come, the major scholars and everybody. They try to keep them intact, but it wasn't that easy.
Yeah, interesting. In these stories, these songs, the data these archives collect, there must be thousands of years old in some cases, right? Dating back to a long time. And so I'm wondering, what do you display in the museum as opposed to, are there any things that you like to keep in the
There's another one thing I'll add before just we are jumping on to the museum. See, it's not like, as I said, my father was like a key person, started this work. But scholars, national level institutions like Sangeet Natak Academy or Indira Gandhi Center for Performing Arts, and all major scholars of the world, of India, so they were being like a group, and they were inviting him for a lot of talks and discussion. So even those institutions were also started documenting. It was not like only Rupayan is doing or the scholars are doing, but institution also, because these people are going to these organizations and sometimes they are member. So they just insist them that you just do this kind of thing. We don't have money, you just make videos or quality videos you can prepare. We can bring our artists into the domain, and you can, so that way 46, 50 years is a very good way of preserving your music, not by own, because you are not sufficient facilities. So these institutions have done exorbitant collections, of these. So in this way, if you revive anything, you need to touch all these organizations. It's not like we can say that you can learn everything from us. There are other scholars also who have done work. You can go to them, they can come here, or they become part of a larger thought process. So this is one thing I want to, it's not like, see, he started with one, but now I cannot count how many members are into this entire domain. Like if I go to Australia, Monash mein 4 or 5 scholars are there. UK में जाएंगे तो वहाँ पे भी scholars हैं. Then in Europe, America, everywhere.
So you've been in different organizations.
Even till today, even a lot of youngsters. The India research story came after 2000. Very little were like maybe out of 100, you'll find only 5 or 10 scholars coming from India. Those who are very much keen into doing this. But after 2000, I mean, our academics have changed, the scholars have changed. I mean, and these scholars are just, giving this knowledge to the younger ones, and they started coming in. So we have a huge number of youngsters coming to India and work with us on different aspects. And in India also this momentum is catching up. Even IIT is working with us. Various organizations are coming, and they just want to know, because they don't know the history of last 60 years of this.
Interesting.
So.
And And kind of some closing questions if here are, what are some, you mentioned how 1990 was an important year as we progress forward. Tradition has changed, folklore and culture has changed a bit, but looking back in time, what are some important years or important periods of time in which Rajasthani folklore kind of really changed and there was a big shifting point? Are there any time periods that you find?
See, it's always like the question which we have now.
Yeah.
Even in 1960, my father was saying the same. See, this process of social changes are not taking faster speed, you know.
Yeah.
They can do it very minuscule level, you know. Like, and then, so this was not the time. We cannot pinpoint or cannot just broadly we can say. But after 1960, even they felt that the things were losing. But at that time, the majority was there.
Yeah.
Majority was there. So I can just tell you that Langan Manganear, he just made a camp in which people have a string instrument in their hand. The Manganear has 300 musicians came with their instruments.
That's a unique Rajasthani
the Kamaicha or Sarangi. So Langas have the similar number. So this was like camp for 2 weeks, and it was like very rich kind of, you can see, so it was like live, I can say, at that point. Now you believe that Manganear has only 10 Kamaichas. The Sarangis are a little bit more because these people are still living in villages. They are also living in villages, but this is the ratio. Why this has gone down, in spite of doing so much of research? Because, you know, the influence of the society, I cannot make you to learn this.
Yeah.
So that was the issue, you know. He was very keen. I mean, instrument was not there, so he just created those instruments sitting with craftsmen, the musicians, and he created so many things. But it didn't catch, because learning those instruments is not easy. Vocal is much easier, rhythmic instruments are much easier, but to play string, it takes really your heart.
Yeah.
So that way, you know, it's very, very important. So every time in the society you'll see, because the change are anyway happening.
Yeah.
So
over time.
but how do you register and measure that thing is a bit difficult.
Yeah, definitely. And to wrap up, I was wondering what you find most valuable and most rewarding and your favorite part about this process and preservation of cultural tradition.
Well, I must say that people who have documented or research has done, this research should be shared with communities in a larger way. I think with that only you can save their culture. That's the only way, I think.
Yeah.
Otherwise they will learn some new music, and they are capable of learning that, and they can survive, but not in a big way.
Yeah.
Like earlier the communities are so big. So within the community now, people who are not interested are doing a job in border security force, the railways, other departments. The kids become educated. Now they don't want to play because there's not sufficient money so they started doing other things also. So this is a big challenge. Not challenge if somebody is not doing, he has to earn money. So he's doing other way. But they know, see, it is like a seed. I can say culture is like a seed, which can be, you know, redundantly lying. But as and when the environment comes, they grow. I mean, these people can really, you know, rejuvenate and can, you know, like, because they have the DNA of that thing, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not like very depressing thing, but I must say, I mean, same thing you can just revive if it is important. And among the world folk music category, not classical or any other, type of music across world.
Yeah.
I think folk is still on the top because their material is being used by most of the people.
Definitely. Yeah.
So they are still inspiring the world, even for modern music. It still comes from the grassroots.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's amazing to see the work being done here spread across the world.
Yeah.
And it's so important to preserve this Rajasthani folklore.
Everywhere. It's not Rajasthan, I must say. I mean, every state, every nook and corner of the world has some very special their thought process. Sometimes, from Austria somebody came, we just explaining them that how this communities work.
Mhm.
Then there was an old guy, he says, we had the same kind of tradition.
Yeah.
And, but not this music, but their own music, but they
Yeah.
were very much, like similar in
Similar.
this nation.
Yeah.
So it's not like the time changes. Some people have changes early. We are changing now.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
But we are walking on the same path, I think.
Definitely. So interesting. Thank you so much,
Yeah, thank you.
Kothari, for
Yeah.
agreeing to
Yeah.
speak to me and share your insight.
Then I'll tell you about
Yeah.
the museum. I think that's
Definitely.
more important in
Yeah.
terms of culture studies.
Yeah.
So actually, I joined my father in 2001. Before that, I was like working in media kind of. We are very close association with Rajasthan media, print media known
Yeah.
as Rajasthan Patrika. So we are close to that family also. We are part of that family. So after joining him, I just shifted here, and my father said that he became old and he doesn't want to do much administration work and this and that. So he just said that you should come and just take over this thing. So I just came, and I thought that I'll be doing this performing art thing, which is looking very lucrative.
Yeah.
And also, like, I've been to until 2000, I've traveled more than 40-50 times to US and many places. So I thought, oh, the same work will be happening
There,
in
yeah.
future. So, but when I came here, my father has a different idea. I said, what was that? So I was very surprised, He said, no, that was my baby, and my baby cannot be your baby. So then he said that I have conceived your baby, and then you nurture it
Yeah.
in your future, so that you will be known for your work. Because otherwise, what I have done, you cannot claim that, So that was very good. I didn't understand at that point of time, but that was a real change from music to museum.
Mhm.
So, very basic, I tell you. He believed that culture cannot be studied in any given administrative boundaries, like Marwar, Mewar, Hadoti. We have a lot of such regions are there. Our father must be knowing that. So these are the known as cultural zones. But he denied that. He said that culture cannot be studied in administrative zone, because a king can win 10 districts or 5 districts or 2 districts, and that cannot create a culture. Culture can only be defined through food. Food is very essential of culture. So then he integrated this idea into a museum thought process, and he says that so when you say food, how do you define? How do you create a methodology? So in that he decided that Rajasthan can be divided into 3 major staple food zones. So that is pearl millet, which is bajra, corn, makka, and sorghum is jawar. So he says we have only, if someone say you are Rajasthani culture, no. We have bajra culture, we have makka culture or jawar culture. So these are 3 cultures. He says there is no other culture than this, because food is the only way to manifest your activity,
Yeah.
social activities, fairs, festivals, and anything.
Yeah.
Once the food is grown, people have joy, they will make festivity and everything. The food comes from the crop only. So that was his idea for the cultural studies.
Yeah.
See, again, he is creating a methodology. So with that, actually, he just, in the first layer, he thought of division of the Rajasthan. In second layer, he believed that, that we survive because certain things, and these certain things or the components are vegetal, metals, minerals, transform objects, and animal. I mean, mostly you understand only transformation is one thing, where you add clay and cow dung, makes it transform its presence, and then you can create hearts and other things.
Yeah.
So that's the enemy. Anything if you remove from this 5 component, suppose if you remove vegetal, is it possible to survive? No. minerals. So any out of these 5, if you remove, the human survival is not possible in the desert or the Thar area, which is very important.
Desert, yeah.
So then again, this become 100% fixed kind of idea that you have to select something from this area for study. Then he's just narrow down to a object, which is a need-based daily life object. Need-based daily life object. So when you say need-based daily life object, so he very first thought that we can have a exhibition on broom. So when you talk about broom, it comes from vegetal, and that need to be studied in the 3 food zone. We search brooms in the pearl millet area, the corn area, and the sorghum area. So these 3 become, so 180 brooms we have collected out of these food
brooms.
Wow. Brooms only. So we went to these villages, collect not only tangible thing, but what is intangible around broom was the main focus. So we have collected all these data from the field. I mean, we got Ford Foundation grant in 2004 and 5 after my father passed away. We were lucky that there was a guy who wrote a book on him, Oral History of Rajasthan, which I'll maybe present to you. So with that, actually he was very close to him during his end of his life. So we made him the director for this thing, and we approached Ford Foundation, and we got a good grant from Ford Foundation.
Yeah.
And then we did almost four years took to travel and collect the data and then present it. So that's the museum very first exhibition has been done on So here is what is important is that we are not glorifying broom, we are glorifying culture. What is intangible around things, because intangible is a real cultural value. Tangible is become, you can't see in and around the object because you are only user. But people who is making them, and how do they find out what is their need, whether in these areas these materials are available, because you can only use those material which is available to you in those zones only. Otherwise your survival is not possible. So that means that within given region you have to survive in the past, because no way you are getting anything from anywhere. So your knowledge for local places becomes so high. You learn from everything, whether it's plant, whether it's clay or whatever it is, because you are making survival things only out of those materials available within the region. So that is the museum which will be working on this line. And we have a lot of other exhibitions in row, and we will be doing in this way. So in this way, a lot of things when we created, we were documenting indigenous knowledge. So then IIT came into picture. They saw our material and they were very much interested. They never saw such materials. They said they are much interested in transformation objects, and then they work on those objects, and further then it can be created something new, like we created a water filter which is very unique in producing bacteria free water 100%. So see, in one place the very indigenous knowledge need to be documented through some process, and only then. So we don't say that we are winning the whole 400-meter race. So we are, it's like a relay race kind of thing. We run 100 meters, then you run 100 meters, then you run 100 meters. So in this way, the thing grows actually. So this is very, very interesting for us also. We didn't realize that, and my father has wrote all these things. He said that once you do all these things, definitely people will come to you and you'll share your idea with them. They will take this idea to the next level. And that will be very, it will be good for humanity. All these aspects, and where sustainability will be discussed, the objects will be discussed. So in this way,
interesting. The museum has been used as a means for bringing people in to see. It's provided more exposure. For all of this research.
Absolutely. All adults, like our primary audience is children. So we have more than 70% children are coming. So we focus on them. We give them all these ideas. So they have an age. They can just take it on to say 100 years or even more. But a young guy like 50 years will remain for only 50 years. So it's good to share with the generations is very, very important.
And could you speak on the book that was written?
That was written in 2000 to 2003 when Rustam was, there was a Penguin, request.
Yeah.
Penguin has requested that there are many people who speak too much but couldn't write. Because of, it's very difficult. What you speak, you cannot write. Even if you will ask me to give a note on it, it's very difficult. Because I have talked from 0 to 100. It is so difficult to remember and just link them in a reading way. So this was a project from Penguin. So the Rustam was given this project. He is a scholar and Parsi guy and he studied in US and then came to India and worked here in theatre world. Very good name in this area, renowned. And so he chose my father. Because anyway the documentation was there, but to give any comprehensive idea of Rajasthan culture is the idea of that book, and that is known as Oral History of Rajasthan by Komal Kothari, by Rustam Barucha in conversation with Komal Kothari. Even while that book was been preparing, so Rustam said, Komala, you are the author of this book. He said, no, I only converse with you and you are writing, so you become the writer of this. That was a very interesting decision, and that's right also. So very interesting moments are there, and we are still attached to thousands of people across the world, and it's very happy. We are very happy that even like Goethe Institute of from Germany has given us a project last year, which was Museum Future in Global South countries, how it is happening. So when we share all these ideas, it was amazing. They South African countries and Brazil, and they liked the way we are doing things. And I've traveled to Kenya, Tanzania with that kind of project. So this is how these things are happening. And we are open to everyone to come, work together, whatever they want to do. Because in one way, it's you are taking everything in the forefront.
That's amazing to see the global exposure that stems from Rupayan Sansthan. So thank you so much for speaking to me today, Kothari. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And
I'm very happy that your age group is thinking like this. It's very important, I think. We always, during my lifetime also, I want to help every youngster, whoever comes. There's no, like we think of money or anything. It's good that, if we, it's like same way we are passing on to you. And you will be taking it further. So you are also like kind of a custodian. Maybe facilitator, you can say. So it's a very interesting that, even people, the girls who have worked with me for 2 years, 3 years, now one is in Cleveland. She got an admission in Cleveland. And one got in Canada, one got in England. So we are very happy because, when they come with some narrow ideas and when this openness comes and they learn so much during this period, and they are still, like very courteous that they keep on telling me that any work, just give it to us. So we are happy. That way we are lucky that, people are involved in all these thought processes.
Definitely. So